Everyone, my name is Rayven. I am the Rainbow Veteran. I use she, her pronouns, and welcome back to another episode of the Rainbow Veteran Podcast. Before I get into today's topic, I do want to give a sincere apology for the delay in between last episode and this episode. On top of the research that was taking a little longer for me to gather, I also have been struggling with my own mental health. I've talked about it before, but I have PTSD. I have anxiety and depression that comes along with that, and these last few weeks have been a bit rough on me mentally, especially with the increased threats of violence towards the trans community. It just took a lot out of me, and I felt like I was trying to pour from an empty cup. So I took a step away from advocacy for a few days. I took a step away from social media for a few days, and I took some time away from the podcast. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and say this won't happen again. I am on medications. I am speaking with my therapist, but my therapist said that I have to set boundaries from my own self. And if I don't have the energy or mental capacity to make a good quality episode for you guys, I'm going to hold off until I can do that. Ironically, this episode is going to be talking about mental health. So I thought it was kind of ironic that given the circumstances. If you don't know from the title, what I'm going to be talking about today is going to be a very, very heavy topic. I'm talking about suicide and suicidal ideation and everything that goes around it. Because September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. If this is going to be something that is very triggering for you, big trigger warning here, stop the episode. Stop the episode, don't listen to it. If you think you can do it at a later day, cool. If not, no worries. What I am going to ask you is instead go into the show notes and look at the resources that are available in the show notes. That is the biggest takeaway you could take from this episode, even if you don't listen to it. Because these resources can not only help you, they can also help others. And I just want you to know that it's okay to take care of yourself. And if you are going to listen to the episode in its entirety, I greatly appreciate that. And I appreciate your time with this one because this one is very important to me. And we're going to start this episode with a quote from SAMHSA, or the Substance Abuse Mental Health Awareness Services Administration. September is Suicide Awareness Month, a time to raise awareness, promote hope, and normalize help seeking. Suicide affects millions of people every year, yet too many struggle in silence. Whether you're facing challenges, supporting a friend or a loved one, or looking to help, your voice matters. This month is dedicated to recognizing the warning signs for suicide, encouraging open conversations about mental health, and connecting people to proven treatment and resources. When we stand together in strength, dignity, hope, and purpose, we can make a difference and we can save lives. And I think that's a powerful, powerful statement to start this episode on. Because yes, I know it's a little late in the month, but I am going to be talking about suicide awareness prevention. And I feel like even if it's not fully in this month, these resources are still something that are very, 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 very important. And it's important to me because I've struggled with suicidal thoughts and ideations. I still suffer from the ideations. I still think about it at times. Never in a sense to where I think I'm going to plan anything, just those moments where it's like, if I didn't exist right now, a lot of things would be easier for me. Which from a therapist I learned is actually a form of suicidal ideation. I've also lost friends. I've lost friends that I served with in the Navy. I've lost friends that I've hung out with in college. And I've had some people from my extended family through marriage have lost their lives and lost their battle. It takes a lot out of you. And I want to take this very seriously, and I want to share things that other people can take away from this episode so that you can have these resources and know that you're not alone. So, what does awareness do? Because I know some people are going to probably be like, "Well, you're just talking about it. You're not doing anything." And this awareness is doing something. It's not the only tool, but it is a tool, and it's an important tool because it gives resources for people to show them where to go if they are struggling with these thoughts, and shows that people aren't alone in these thoughts, that it's something that affects a pretty decent portion of the United States and the world. It destigmatizes the people who struggle with these thoughts, as a lot of people in the past had even their own biases against them having these thoughts and trying to get help because they were worried about the stigma. It also, the biggest thing is it hopefully will save a life. And that is my ultimate goal here, is that I'm hoping that this information can not only help someone else, but someone help themselves. And that for me is the greatest thing I could do right now. So there are warning signs, and Wikipedia has a great page on warning signs for their suicide prevention awareness. 988, specifically, I'm getting this information from the Veteran Crisis Line, has like a breakdown between red, like crisis, like this is someone who probably needs to be admitted, or, you know, kind of have a therapy session like right now, or go into the ER, versus yellow warning signs, to where we need to take steps to be preventative for that person having to get like 302'd or something like that, right? Now, there are some of them that I personally think are going to be more of like an orange, but I'm going to talk about the behaviors that are warning signs or could be warning signs, and then I'm going to do the breakdown of the Veterans Crisis Line. So warning signs are talking about wanting to die or to kill themselves, suicidal ideation, such as talking, thinking, writing about, or planning for suicide, substance abuse, feelings of purposelessness, anxiety, agitation, being unable to sleep or sleeping all the time, feelings of being trapped, feelings of hopelessness, social withdrawal, displaying extreme mood swings, suddenly changing from very sad to calm or happy, recklessness and impulsiveness. Specifically, what they're talking about here is taking like extreme risks, like driving recklessly because you have like no concern for your own well-being. Mood changes, including depression, feelings of uselessness, settling out affairs, giving away prized or valuable possessions and making amends when there are otherwise not expected to die. The example they give is this is a very normal behavior with someone who has a terminal illness such as cancer, but this would be kind of concerning for someone who's relatively healthy. Strong feelings of pain, either emotional or physical, because not a lot of people realize that the physical pain can mess with your mental health, and your mental health can mess with your physical issues. Like it's all connected. Considering yourself burdensome, and increased use of drugs, including alcohol. Now, this 988 breakdown I really, really, really like, because for me, when I last had to call them, or I used the chat, sorry, but when I last contacted them, I felt like it was really easy for me to tell them where I was, because instead of saying, hey, I'm having issues and I feel like I need to be admitted, it was more of, I'm having issues and I'm worried about it getting worse. I told them I was at a yellow stage, I told them my issues, I told them how I was, and I'm very grateful for the person who was on the other end of that chat, because they really helped me from a really bad spot, and I'm thankfully, knock on wood, I haven't gotten that bad. I've had a couple breakdowns these last few weeks, but I haven't gotten to that point again. So hopefully I don't need to, but I know that the resource is there. So the crisis line has it broken down into two categories. Crisis, which is red, and the crisis signs are thinking about hurting or killing yourself, looking for ways to kill yourself, talking about death, dying, or suicide, and self-destructive behavior such as drug abuse, risky use of weapons, etc. Another warning signs, the yellow ones, are appearing sad or depressed most of the edit. Appearing sad or depressed most of the time, hopelessness, anxiety, agitation, sleeplessness, mood swings, feeling as if there is no reason to live, feeling excessive guilt, shame, or a sense of failure, rage or anger, engaging in risky activities without thinking, increasing use of alcohol or drug misuse, low interest in hobbies, work, or school, neglecting personal welfare or appearance, withdrawing from friends, family, and loved ones, showing violent behavior like punching holes in walls or getting into fights. Now, these last two I would argue are orange because they could be one or the other, in my opinion. Giving away prized possessions, and getting affairs in order, tying up loose ends, or writing a will. I feel like those two could be either or, because at that point you have more of a plan kind of set in your mind. Even if you don't know that how exactly, you are starting to get that wheel rolling that you're gonna do it. And I feel like that's a bit more of a crisis sign, in my opinion. But I'm also not a psychiatrist, so take everything I say with a grain of salt here. There are a lot of risk factors that could be a contributing factor to someone who is suicidal. Unfortunately, some of them are social and economically based, because when we know a person's not doing well in society and doesn't have a lot of options to live properly, the idea of suicide becomes increased. So we have depression or other mental health disorders or substance abuse disorder, medical conditions, chronic pain, prior attempts, childhood trauma, betrayal or abandonment, financial troubles or poverty. That's a big one. Usually we see a big increase during recession times. Family history of mental disorder or substance abuse, family history of suicide, family violence including physical or sexual abuse, psychiatric abuse, benzos, having a gun or other firearm in the home, having been recently released from prison, jail, or mental asylum, self-harm, being exposed to someone else's suicidal behavior, such as family members, peers, or celebrities. That honestly can be very traumatic for people, especially if you saw what happened. And food insecurity. That's another one that I think is really big, because if you don't have something to eat and you feel like you are just never going to find food, it can be a big issue for people. I totally understand why people have that increased factor there. But are there ways you can help? And the answer is yes. There are a lot of ways you can help someone. Buddy checks, I think, are a great way to get help for someone. Now, these, I don't know if they were started by the American Legion, but they were definitely popularized by the American Legion. So buddy checks, they could be big events, they could be a one-on-one conversation, but I do have a section of the American Legion's pamphlet here from Be The One. I mean, I got more of it over here, and I will be linking it in my show notes if you want to read it for yourself. But the way the American Legion does it, it's more of you're kind of like a call center team, like you're calling a bunch of people who either are or were Legionnaires, kind of to just see how they're doing. I'm not a huge fan of it, to be honest, mostly because of the samples they give. It's kind of giving, we're doing good, but we're also advertising about the American Legion. Like, some people like me leave the American Legion for a lot of different reasons, and it's, a lot of it is kind of just, hey, remember the American Legion is here for you, The only other time where it's not like that is if you are concerned about a veteran's well-being, and it gives you kind of samples of how to talk about that and get that conversation going. But it's still, I don't know. I don't think it's a great resource, but I'm going to use them as kind of a jumping point because they've already done a lot of the work. So I think it's important to kind of use them as an example of how you can get things started, but it's not the end all be all. There's a lot of room for improvement, and definitely the way they have things set up is not the greatest. So how do you organize a buddy check? Gather a team to call, or if possible, personally visit members and former members of the American Legion and other veterans in your community. If each member in a team of 10 calls just 10 Legionnaires or veterans, 100 veterans can be reached in one sitting. Use mylegion.org to get contact information. And this is one thing I do appreciate, is because they actually talk about how the American Legion is currently limited in the amount of veteran information that can be attained without the aid of the Veterans Affairs. But roles of members and former members are available on mylegion.org and can always produce names and referrals to other veterans. Most posts have rosters of current and expired members at their fingertips. If posts can legally obtain other veterans' names, they are urged to do so. And, I'm glad that they have that, but also kind of just, I don't really like my information being out there in the public as much like that, you know? If there's a way that is a post commander has to put in, a specific password or something, or a team gets approved by the Legion and gets that information through, a password or something, I'm a little more comfortable with that, right? Save the files of members and those whose memberships have expired onto a spreadsheet, or copy and paste it into a Word file to distribute among the Buddy Check team. Print several copies of this list. Divide the call list among your team members. Some may even have personal connections with members or former members and would be best suited to make that particular call. Make a list of local resources. I think this is a really big one, and I do kind of steal this from the American Legion here. That includes services like financial aid, employment opportunities, veteran services, home and auto repair, caregiver services, transportation services, and other known beneficial resources for veterans and their families. Having these resources at your fingertips will give the caller confidence to address the needs of veterans, whatever they may be. Start calling, either from a place inside the post home or from your own residence, to see how members and former members are doing. Ask if they need anything and invite them to any post event or activity coming up in the calendar. Again, kind of advertising-y. And I get it. You want to get veterans involved. You want to get them out of the house. You want to make them feel like they're not isolated. I totally get that. Also include other events that's not just the post. Use a spreadsheet to record buddy check calls and identify those who haven't been members for several years. This is where I really get a little miffed with the American Legion, because it says, if you're making a group effort where many members of a buddy check team are calling on a particular night or time, invite the local media to show the American Legion reaching out to veterans and their families in the community. This not only puts the American Legion in a positive light, but also spreads awareness of the Buddy Check program for those in need or wishing to assist. That kind of rubs me the wrong way, because I'm like, yes, we should alert the media about this epidemic of veteran suicide. We should talk to the media about this, yes. But why are we trying to make us look like, the savior here? That's the thing that kind of rubs me the wrong way. And that's a lot of things that rub me the wrong way about the American Legion. Let's be honest. I have qualms with the American Legion. As someone who's just about to expire here in a few months, I have qualms with the American Legion. Now, it's good on a grand scale. This setup is good for large, massive areas of veterans, especially here in Pittsburgh. We have a huge VA hospital system. We have a lot of veterans in this area. Just like the area I grew up in, Virginia, there's a lot of veterans and service members in the southeast part of Virginia around Norfolk, Langley, and like all those military bases, right? But what do you do if it's someone you know? What do you do if it's a buddy of yours, a shipmate, a fellow airman, a fellow Marine, a fellow soldier, a fellow veteran, a friend, a loved one? What do you do? I have some ideas about this, and I kind of twist the lessons from the buddy checks that the American Legion does, and I fuse it with some information from NAMI, or the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and kind of fuse it together to kind of twist a one-on-one method here for you. So, like the American Legion, I think it's really good to have the resources ready to go before you go into the conversation. I think it's good to have it in your back pocket and have it around for a while. Like, for me, I carry Narcan because I know people who have suffered from drug abuse in my past. So if I ever come across someone who may be overdosing, the likelihood of me doing that is very low, but if I ever do, I'd rather have that Narcan ready and not need it than need it in that moment and not have it. And so I feel like the resources are the same here. I'm very Boy Scouty with that, I guess you could say. Start the conversation. If you know they're struggling, start the conversation and ask them very openly and normally how they're doing. Like, just ask, like, hey, bud, how's it going? How's the family? How's the kids? How's the work? If you are really, 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 really close with them and you know why they're struggling, ask them how it's been for them. Ask them, hey, I know you just lost your job. How's life been? How are you financially? Are you struggling? How has that been a burden on you? But kind of ease into that conversation. Let them know that you are there for them, that you are a shoulder to cry on, you are an ear for them to talk to, and that they can come to you for anything. And so we're going to go into the 10 ways to offer support from the what to do when someone shares they're struggling from NAMI. 1. Let them know you are listening. First of all, reassure them that you hear what they are saying and that you are taking them seriously. Example, I'm so glad you're telling me about how much has been going on and how you're feeling. Thank you for sharing this with me. 2. Show your support. In your own way, make sure that they know you are with them and that you care. Examples are, I'm right here with you. Nothing you say is going to change the way I feel about you. And I love you no matter what, and we're going to get through this together. 3. Encourage them to keep talking and really listen. Let them know that you want to hear more about how they're feeling and what they're going through. Listen actively by expressing curiosity and interest in the details. Wow, that situation sounds really difficult. How did that make you feel when that happened? Explain to me your feelings around this. That's not one in the actual example, but that's one I'm throwing in. 4. Ask them about changes in their life and how they are coping. Find out how long it's been that this person is feeling that way, and ask about changes that caused it in their life. How long have you felt this way? When did these feelings start? Have these thoughts led to any specific changes in your life? Are they causing you to have trouble sleeping or eating or keeping up with work? Have you been getting out as much before? Are you isolating yourself? 5. Be direct if you think they are talking or thinking about suicide. If you think someone is thinking about it, trust your gut and ask them immediately and directly. Research shows that it will not put the idea in their head or push them into action. Often, people find themselves relieved when someone cares enough to hear about their experiences with suicidal thoughts. Are you thinking about harming yourself? Does it ever get so tough that you're thinking about ending your life? They do put a warning here is to make sure it does not sound like you are passing judgment or guilt trip them. Examples are, do not say, you're not thinking of doing something stupid, are you? And do not say, think of what it would do to your family. Instead, reassure them that you care and understand. I really care about you, and I want you to tell me anything you feel comfortable sharing. 6 is, what can you say if they tell you they're thinking about killing themselves? Stay calm. It's really hard. I understand this part. It's really hard to try to stay calm here, but you have to stay calm. Just because someone is having thoughts of suicide does not mean they are in immediate danger. Take time to calmly listen to them, listen to what they say, and ask follow-up questions. How often do you have these thoughts? When it gets really bad, what do you do? What scares you most about these thoughts? And what can I do to make sure you feel safe? 7 is, follow the person you're talking to's lead and take breaks. It's a tough conversation to have, not just for the person you're talking to, but also it could be for you as well. Make sure that they know they can ask at any point to take a break. Ask them if they're okay with continuing the conversation. Ask them, if they want to talk about this later, and let them know that you're there to support them. 8 is how to suggest they can benefit from professional help. A lot of times people talking to someone who is having mental health issues or struggling with thoughts of suicide, you're not going to be a mental health professional. And that's just being realistic here. Like, I'm not a mental health professional. I know people who are. I have friends and loved ones who are mental health professionals. My neighbor is one. But I am not. So if I'm helping someone, I'm going to kind of gently push them into getting help. Examples they give to kind of approach the topic is, I hear that you're struggling, and I think it would be really helpful for you to talk to someone who can help you get through this. Therapy isn't just for serious clinical problems. It can help any of us process any challenges we're facing, and we all face some serious stuff sometimes. I really think talking to someone can help you gain some perspective and keep things from getting worse. This is a good one I really like here. You're in good company. The highest performing executives and elite athletes lean on mental health professionals to hone their performances. Reaching out to professional guidance and therapy is a strong thing to do, and it can make all the difference. I would like to add, if you've been through therapy, if you're helping someone with these thoughts and you have experience with therapy, talk to them about that. Share your experiences. We do that all the time. We help. We be like, hey, I know this bed at this VA center. I can put a word in. Or, hey, I know the hours of the mental health clinic at the VA. Let's go there right now. I'll go with you. These things can be really, really beneficial to help somebody. And if you aren't in the VA system, if you're not a veteran and you're helping someone, and you've gone through therapy, make suggestions. Tell them places you've gone. Tell them mental health professionals that you like, or get opinions from your mental health provider if they don't have enough people to take on, people that they would recommend. Because if you trust your mental health provider and they trust that person, you're more likely to trust them, and your friend or loved one, whoever you're helping is looking for help, is going to have that trust in that line as well. And that leads me into step 9, help them connect. Sometimes making that first moment to contact someone is very difficult, especially when you're struggling. And there are some ways you can help them. Examples here is, I can call your insurance company with you, or go online to their website to find mental health providers who take your insurance. I could drive or walk you to your appointment, and then we can go get coffee afterwards. I think that's a big one, is making sure that you're there with them. You see them in, you stay there, you wait for them, they come out, and you guys do something fun together. I think that's a big thing. And if they're not comfortable with going somewhere big, just like go home, order pizza, play some video games or something. Do something that is going to recharge them. And number 10, if they're concerned about privacy, if they're worried about people finding out that they're getting treatment, let them know that their worries are mostly unfounded. Most people realize that mental health is extremely important. It's a valid part of health in general. We all have various kinds of health issues, and people who get support for their mental health are often seen as strong, smart, and proactive. If they ask you not to tell anyone, tell them that you want to help them get support that they need, and that may involve enlisting others to help. Encourage them to be part of that conversation that happens in reaching out for help, and reassure them that you'll be discreet as possible in your efforts to keep them safe. Now, this next part I'm going to talk about is what do you do if you find yourself in this situation? What do you do if you are struggling with thoughts of suicide? If the stuff I read at the beginning about the signs and risk factors resonates with you and you're like, wow, I'm like that, maybe I should talk to somebody. If you're thinking about that and you're like not really like bad and you're like, maybe I should talk to somebody, go and look for mental health providers. And if you need help, ask someone you can trust. But if you're in that crisis stage, I have resources for you as well. Call 988. Veterans, if you're on the phone line, hit 1. They may direct you or transfer you to a local crisis team or responders. That is a good thing in my opinion, but just be aware of it, because a lot of the 988 is kind of more of a national thing, and then when you call, they'll transfer you to someone like, say, here in Pittsburgh, because the local team knows the roads. They know how to guide people to this exact location where you're at. They know if road closures are happening or big events are going to cause traffic jams. They know how to get around it. Someone who's in one of the bigger call center locations for 988 that's like in Illinois or something is not going to know shit about here in Pittsburgh. If you're LGBT and looking for someone who can specifically help you and understands you, the Trevor Project does have a few options. Their phone number is 1-866-488-7386. I will have all this information in my show notes. If you do not get the numbers, do not worry. The information is going to be here in the show notes, or if you're on YouTube, the description below. For teens and young adults, NAMI actually has a line, specifically Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Their number is 1-800-950-6264. And I do have options here. If calling is not something you can do or you're very uncomfortable with it, because I know it can be a lot for people, especially when everything else is going on and just words is really hard to get out, but typing is easy. 988lifeline.org is a website where you can get a hold of that. trevorproject.org/gethelp/ is another great source. They have a lot of options there between chats, text, phone call. The veteranscrisisline.net is also a really, really good resource to have. That's how I got a hold of the chat with them. You could call them through that as well. You get the number there. But the chat is really worth it, especially if you're in a location where you can't really call at that moment. Now, I do have some fast facts from NAMI where they talk about and kind of show how like impactful it is for suicide for people. And kind of these numbers are simultaneously really sad to hear and read. But also kind of normalizes that it's not just a you or me issue, because that's the thing with mental health is a lot of it makes you feel like it's just you, it's a you issue. It's something I struggle with still, and I have two partners who struggle with mental health. Like, I know it's not me. I know it's a lot of people who have also gone through this. I know some vets in my personal life who also suffered from MST events like I did, and they have PTSD. But your anxiety, your mental health, your depression, it makes you feel like you're alone. So these numbers do help with that. But unfortunately, it's really sad. I honestly, when I first saw these numbers, I cried. I'm not going to lie about that. It made me cry. So before I get into these ones, I do want to say officially, according to the VA, the 22 a day number that we all know is actually down to 17 a day, according to them. I have a little qualm with that because they're looking at 2022's suicide numbers, and they did change the methodology of how they record the numbers. They are no longer including service members, especially those in transition from service to civilian. They are no longer counting things that, like the reckless behavior, that sometimes are like, oh, they died from a pill overdose. That's not been designed or written down as like death by suicide, right? Some places like the Wounded Warrior Project say that it's actually up to like 40 veterans a day right now, and that's really sad. So the number, it's still very questionable, even though like the 22 a day at the time was very questionable. But I do want to put it out there that unfortunately the veteran community does have really high rates of suicide, and it's sad, and that's why we have to stick together more than ever. Back to the NAMI facts, though. 1 in 20 U.S. adults, or 5%, have had serious thoughts of suicide each year. About one person dies by suicide in the U.S. every 11 minutes. 79% of all people who die by suicide are male. Now, it does have a little asterisk here that says, indicates female or male sex assigned at birth. So the gender spectrum could be a little different because of gender nonconforming or trans people, but these are just kind of what the doctors say based on sex. Although more women than men attempt suicide, men are 4 times more likely to die by suicide. In the U.S., suicide is the second leading cause of death among people ages 10 to 14 and people ages 15 to 24, and the 11th leading cause of death overall. And then it has annual suicide prevalence thoughts. It has annual prevalence of serious thoughts of suicide among different demographics of adults. So LGBT is 18%, multiracial is 12%, women it's 5.5%, white is 5%, Hispanic or Latino is 5%, Native American or Alaskan Native is 4.7%, men it's 4.5%, Asian it's 4.2%, African American it's 4%, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander it's 2.6%. Among youth, the prevalence of serious thoughts of suicide in the U.S. is high school students who are LGBT, it's 41%. LGBT young people ages 13 to 24, it's 39%. High schoolers in general, it's 20%. And young adults ages 18 to 25 is 12.2%. And this data comes from the CDC, SAMHSA, and other select sources. And NAMI has their stats if you want to look into that. And that's sad. And I was just thinking, and I think I skipped it in my show notes here, but when I was talking about like the stats with the 17 a day, and they're not like actually looking at those in transition, if you were talking to a veteran, ask them how their transition from veteran or like the service member to veteran was, because that can be really hard, and there is a big grief period. Even if it's been like 50, 60 years for them, ask them how it was, because they might be struggling and holding on to something that they haven't even realized themselves for decades. Sorry, like every time I read those stats, it really gets me, because it's sad, and knowing those numbers is really, really sad to know, but I think it's important to share. So I'm going to end the episode here. Trying not to cry, and I do apologize for getting all sniffly into the microphone. But I hope that I could spread some knowledge today for a very serious topic, and I hope that I can help someone that you care about, or help you if you are struggling. And I know this could be a very heavy thing to carry. Speaking from experience, it is a very, very heavy thing to hold on to. But please know you are not alone, and that you have people in your corner. Like I said throughout this episode, I will have all the resources in the show notes, including websites and the numbers. So please reach out to someone. Please talk. And stay with us. This world's a better place with you in it. As always, everyone, stay safe, stay hydrated, and stay vigilant. I'll see you all in the next episode. Bye! Oh boy, the tears.